Welcome back to a little bit of Cheese Your Bite-Sized Wisconsin Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Cody Depius. That is Sam Douglas coming to you on Friday, May 23rd. Holy cow, this year is flying by at this point. But coming to you in the early afternoon, it is the Brewers taking on Paul Skeens tonight. That's a big story. I watched the Brett Favre documentary on Netflix. Also a big story. And Giannis Antetekounmpo had his meeting, his off-season meeting with John Horst. So we can talk a little bit about that. That'll be the show today. We'll start off at the top with the Brewers because we haven't done any Brewers talk recently, and I'll be completely honest, there hasn't been a lot of anything different recently. This team sits at one game under 500. Feels like it's been the theme all year. They're 25-26. They're 5.5 back of Chicago, 3 games back of St. Louis, and they are tied game for game with the Cincinnati Reds. And lucky for them, they are playing the Pittsburgh Pirates, but unlucky for them, they do face Paul Skeens tonight, who probably should have thrown a no-hitter against them last year. So we'll see how things shake up as that goes along. But we can start off with a little bit of a celebration, or at least I know, Sam, you can pop a bottle of champagne or whatever you would like. Yoel Payamps, as of yesterday, has been designated for assignment. So we'll see if we'll see if some team wants to pick him up. If not, he's probably gonna end up in AAA with the Brewers. I would actually be surprised if nobody brings him in. The fact that he's had success the last 2 years and was a big reason for Milwaukee's success down the stretch last year. He was lights out the second half of the season. This year has just lost it overall. So he's been DFA'd. They brought up Carlos Rodriguez and Aaron Civale. They both pitched yesterday. Civale going his 4 innings. He was on a limited pitch count. Didn't look great. It looked like it was a rehab start, which it actually was supposed to be. That would have been just on Wednesday. He was scheduled for a rehab start, and then Murphy went and called Nashville and said, hey, don't pitch Aaron. We're going to have him pitch on Friday, see how far he can go. We're bringing up Carlos Rodriguez as well. And Carlos Rodriguez was the hero yesterday, started pitching before the rain delay, was on the mound when they delayed everything, and then came back out 2 hours later and pitched into the 8th inning. Incredible stuff to be able to get warm, throw on the mound, go and sit down and play cards with the boys for 2 hours, and then come back and then throw a couple more innings. Great stuff from Carlos Rodriguez. No, he wasn't lights out. I don't expect Carlos Rodriguez to be. He wasn't last year. We haven't seen a great Carlos Rodriguez, but that's where the Brewers are at right now. Christian Yelich, 2 home runs yesterday. You saw that swing. You saw him get ahead of that fastball middle in, and he sent that long, long ways. Would have went in the Allegheny if it hadn't hit that little swing set out there in right field. But what is your overall thoughts on everything happening with the Brewers? What's good, what's bad, what's hopeful, and what makes you feel like this team is just going to be 500 for the rest of the year?
Man, it feels good to see Yelly hit 2 bombs yesterday. That's awesome. That's what we've been waiting for quite some time. 2 of them. First one was no doubter, like you said. That ball was flying.
Second one, actually. First one could have been caught by Tommy Pham, but it did get out.
That's the one you went opposite on the first one, right?
That's right. Oppo Field. Oppo Taco.
Yeah, absolutely good stuff from Yelly. Pitching staff is starting to take form. Nick Mears looking really good. Uribe still doing his stuff. Henderson crushing it. Carlos Rodriguez first win. It wasn't pretty, but he did the thing. Reese is hitting up towards like 300. That's where Reese has been batting. That's awesome stuff. 500, it feels like we're still kind of treading water. As we've said, you're going to need to win the NL Central to make the playoffs. Mm-hmm. And the Cubs are kind of still keeping us around. It wasn't always going to be 3 games back if we were sitting a game below 500, but 5.5 is not crazy. It's doable. You can get hot, catch a couple losses from the Cubbies, and make a run at it. Logan Henderson, man, 39% K rate through his first 3 starts. That's kind of electric. Is he legitimate?
I think he is. He is, I think, just I could be wrong. He's either the first pitcher or the third pitcher in MLB history since the year 1900 to get 7 strikeouts and win each of his first 3 major league starts. He's done historical stuff already. The stuff looks real. He looks like a big league pitcher. I don't know how long he stays in this rotation because you have guys that are on the doorstep and waiting to come back. I mean, we saw Civale come back yesterday. Woodruff, he's going to go back into his rehab starts in Nashville after he had that little bum ankle that
Yeah.
kind of held him back from his season debut, which was supposed to be last Saturday, but he had an ankle tweak right ahead of that, so they had to put him back on the DL. But he is now assigned for a rehab assignment. He's going to be coming back. DL Hall, Aaron Ashby, they've both been throwing. They're right on the doorstep. You're going to see some guys get taken off of this roster because of the depth that Milwaukee has and the health that is on the way. Chad Patrick is in the running for National League Rookie of the Year right now. If you would have told me that ahead of time, I would have told you were crazy. Feels like the Tobias Myers that we saw, which actually Tobias Myers is back down in AAA for, I think, the third time this year. So I don't know how much faith they're going to have in Myers. I expect this rotation is not going to stay healthy the entire time, so this depth is going to help you, and they're going to need it. I don't know what we expect from Brandon Woodruff. I think my expectations are getting higher and higher because it's kind of what they need. They need another guy alongside Freddie Peralta that you trust to go out there. Maybe that is Logan Henderson. Maybe he turns into that. I mean, Quintana's on the DL now for, I think he's on the 15-day, so he'll be back in a couple of weeks. But I don't know if Quintana was going to be a guy that you trust as your number two. I don't know if Brandon Woodruff is going to be either, but you're going to need that guy. You need at least a two-headed monster to go into the playoffs, and really even for this team to get there because they haven't hit to this point. And Yelich was awful up until yesterday. I mean, I think you texted me and you said hitting 186. What is going on? And it was unwatchable. It was bad. It's either a strikeout or a ground out to second base. But maybe just a little bit of that Pittsburgh medicine gets you right back into the swing of things. I mean, it's a mental game, I think, with Christian Yelich, and I think it's a mental game with Jackson Chourio as well. As we actually, I do want to talk a little bit about this because earlier this week, anybody who follows the Brewers really closely, you saw, I think it was on Tuesday, that Homer from ESPN Milwaukee said that he thinks that the Milwaukee Brewers should trade Jackson Chourio because they're paying him too much for him to not hit like this, and he doesn't draw any walks. So, I work in radio. I've worked in sports radio for a couple of years now. It's good to bring up some takes that might give you some argument. But there is a fine line that you have to walk between having a good take that someone can have a pushback against or having a completely idiotic take that is discredited when you first open your mouth about it. And this is one of those idiotic takes that I have heard nobody agree with him at all. And I think for all the right reasons. Jackson Chourio had an over 900 OPS for the second half last year. And even to this point, when he's been hitting bad and he looks bad at the plate, he's still an average to above average Major League Baseball player. And you're only paying him $10 million a year. And this is a guy that could carry your lineup, and I imagine to carry your lineup throughout the summer. And I just don't worry about him. And ever since Homer made that comment, Chourio is hitting 500 since that point. So maybe that's all it took. Maybe negativity is positivity once again here. But I don't know if it's like that false optimism for me, but I don't see Christian Yelich hitting as bad as he has been. I see popping out a couple. He has 9 home runs right now. He's on pace for over 30. Yes, he's leading still hitting under 200, but
he's leading us in home runs and RBIs right now, and I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
It's not a good thing. It's certainly not a good thing. But you see another bat coming to life in Rhys Hoskins, and even with the broken finger, Wilson Contreras has been smoking some baseballs right back up the middle. He's actually hitting some bad luck these last couple of games, too, and he's still been finding a way to get on base, it seems, almost every single game. Contreras is going to be a force. Chourio is going to be a force. Yelich could be a force. If you see him start to swing like he did yesterday and have that confidence when he sees that fastball middle in to just connect and send it, like when he hit that home run, that second home run yesterday, that looked like Yelich. That looked like what I remember, where he knew a fastball was coming. He knew it was going to be middle in. He started his swing at the release point and just sent it flying. I think Jeff Levering's call is, and Yelich hits a rocket to right center. Like immediately. It felt like he started making the call right when he started to swing it. That's when Yelich is right. Yelich is right when he is making that swing at the release point because he's reading these things. He's understanding them. He's been reading the patterns of the pitchers. And yes, the Pittsburgh pitchers yesterday were terrible, and they look like it. But when Yelich starts to at least start to execute against these guys that are below average major league pitchers, that's a bigger step than what you've seen from him this far because he hasn't hit anybody.
Something that happened recently, and we're going to relate this to Christian Yelich. Nick Sirianni got a contract extension with the Eagles. I don't know if he's a very good coach. The guy wins football games. PJ Tucker is playing for the Knicks right now, and they're in the Eastern Conference Finals. When we talk about confidence and attitude, that matters. It's not this abstract thing. When that it shows up in sports, PJ Tucker is bringing a team. He's not even playing minutes, but I know the attitude in that locker room is different when he's there. I don't know if Nick Sirianni knows a lick about football. He's yelling at his own fans. There's a lot of wins there. There's a confidence. There's an attitude. And it's no secret why Yelly hits a home run, and the next time he steps up to the plate, it's a rocket to right center. This confidence thing is not, it's not an abstract concept. It actually shows up in a little bit of confidence, a little bit of attitude. Get this Brewers team a couple wins in a row. I think it's important.
I think so. And I can bring this back to even Willy Adames because we talk about what's been missing there for the Brewers. When your leader is succeeding, you feel like you're being led. Like that's on a personal level too. 2 years ago, Willy Adames did not have a great season at the plate. It was the year before his contract year. He hit just over 200. Yeah, he got his 30 home runs, but it wasn't good. It didn't feel like a good season for Willy Adames. The Brewers missed the playoffs that year. That team was not being led by somebody who was out there and succeeding. And I think where this team is at right now, maybe this leadership role has started to shift towards a Rhys Hoskins. And now a Rhys Hoskins is starting to hit. When you can think about this anywhere. Like even in a business, even at the workplace. Whoever is leading you, if you know that they're not doing their own job, why the hell would you listen to them at all? Like if they try to give you any advice or they try to pick you up, I can go back and think of my time in high school sports. I'm not going to listen to the guy that's borderline JV telling me what I need to be doing better. That's not, you're not going to listen to even the words of encouragement from a Christian Yelich when he's hitting under 200. But when Christian Yelich is hitting 320 and he should win back-to-back MVPs, you're going to listen to every word that guy says like it's scripture. You need to have that leader go out and have that success. And that's what the Brewers had been missing until this point. I don't know if Rhys Hoskins is going to continue to hit at a 292 clip with the power that he's shown the last couple of weeks. But if he does, I think this team is better. I think that goes the same, of course, with Contreras and with Yelich. Once you have those leaders start to step up, then you start to see a guy like Joey Ortiz step into the box and feel confident, hey, my leader just took you deep. I'm going to go yard too. I've hit like crap all year, but that doesn't matter. I just saw Yelich go oppo taco, and he had been hitting under 200. If he can go do this, it's a mindset thing. It's for everybody. And I think that there is going to be a turning point, or there really has to be. Because if this doesn't happen, this Brewers team is going to be 500 at the year, and that's based off of the talent that they have. You said that as well. This team is not going to win a World Series because of the amount of talent that they have. They're going to have it because they played right, because they played confident, they had a game plan, and they executed. And we're having this conversation after what they've won 4 out of their last 5. It's been a good stretch, but the stretch before that was you lose the first 2 games of the series in horrendous fashion, and then you take the rubber day on day 3, on the getaway day. That's what they did, I think, for 3 consecutive series. They lost the first 2 games, then they won the getaway day. Just to stay afloat, just to not get swept, which is a great thing, because good teams don't get swept. And the Brewers, the only time that they've been swept this year has been that first series against the Yankees, but as I said time and time again, that was March baseball. That doesn't really count for Major League Baseball. Once we get to April, I mean, If you take away that Yankees series, the Brewers are above 500, and I think things feel a little bit differently. But this is going to have to continue. You're going to have to see Yelich make these swings and have a home run every single week, or maybe even 2 home runs, maybe even 2 in a game. His first time since the middle of 2023. This could be something really big for them. If Yelich can go out there, and I'll have this question for you later, but if he can go and hit at a 275 clip for the rest of the year, that means he gets that average up to about like 250, 260. He's shown the power that he still has. That's your leader. That's somebody that you can trust to even give you a word of encouragement in the dugout. These are the psychological conversations we like to have here on A Little Bit of Cheese, because when the vibes are right, everybody's playing right too.
And they've got a chance. It's Skeens on the mound tonight. Get a couple hits against Skeens tonight. I mean, that's a big ask, but like coming off of last night, we know this is Christian Yelich we're talking about. If he can come out after yesterday, get a hit against Paul Skeens his first time up, get on base, do something, that's huge. He's got an opportunity to really get a ball rolling for himself tonight.
Yeah, and I will also say with Joey Ortiz, that home run yesterday, that felt nice. He had the one home run, I believe it was against Tampa Bay. It was kind of an excuse me swing. He just sent it over that Little League right field wall out there in that AAA stadium that they play in. But I see him gaining confidence moving forward. He's not striking out as much as we saw earlier this season. The clips don't look that bad. It's just been the exit velocity. He hasn't made good contact, which at first you need to make contacts to spend a lot of ground outs and a lot of pop outs, which is not what you can do as a major league hitter, and that's what he's been doing. But I feel him getting into a surge. We saw him get hot for a little bit. It was probably like 6 weeks last year where he kind of carried that offense. Joey Ortiz, I think, could be somebody that you at least trust in the 8 or 9 hole for this team, and I think he's the X factor moving forward. I really don't. Caleb Durbin just doesn't feel right at third base. I want him to continue to succeed. I think he's someone who does bring value, but I'll say it again. He's not your starting third baseman, and I really don't know who Milwaukee goes out and tries to get, but it's going to have to be somebody better than what Caleb Durbin's doing, or Caleb Durbin is going to have to start at least getting on base a lot more. His defense is poor. I'm going to say that outright. His arm is terrible. Like it really, really maybe the worst arm at third base in all of Major League Baseball. It's bad. It's just these couple of holes, but I trust what Contreras is going to be able to do. I trust Hoskins. I trust Terang. I trust Frelick and Yelich and Churio in the outfield. Like my only points of faith, once again, is just that left side of the infield. You've seen Trevor McGill start to be someone who I trust now out there on the mound once again for the Brewers. His numbers are back down to a normal and a good level for him. Abner Uribe and Nick Mears have been incredible. I know Mears has had a bit of an up and down week, but I still trust that he's going to be someone that you can trust moving forward. I feel more comfortable now than I did a week ago. I will say that. Like just even getting hot here against some bad teams, this is what you need. And we'll see what can happen tonight with Freddie Peralta taking on Paul Skeens. I'm hopeful. I don't have high expectations, but I'm going to stay hopeful, and I hope that Freddie Peralta can really go toe for toe, and maybe they can squeak one across.
There's always a tricky situation when you're tuning into a game to watch the other team's starting pitcher.
Yeah. Dude, Skeens, that's top level stuff. He has Hall of Fame legend, someone that we're going to be talking about for the rest of our lives type of stuff. And it just sucks that he's playing in Pittsburgh. And I just have to say I'm sorry to Pirates fans. I think Pirates fans are awesome, any that I've run into. Pittsburgh's a great baseball city, just a terrible baseball owner. They've run that franchise into the dirt. They're lucky they have one of the best pitching prospects that we've ever seen, but his career is going to rot until he finds his way, probably in New York pinstripes is going to be where he ends up. But it's at that point, I'm excited for tonight's game. We'll see if the Brewers can maybe squeak one or two across, and hopefully Freddie Peralta just has that ace dog type of start back in him. He can go out there, take the rubber, and secure the Brewers series win. That would be such a jolt of momentum. It would get him exactly at 26 and 26. You just took down the best pitcher in all of baseball. You saw your superstar hit 2 home runs on the first game of the series. maybe this is where the roller coaster starts to go up and keeps on going up. You need that point. So I think that'll do it for our Brewers talk. I want to talk a little bit about the Giannis meeting. I know you've probably read a little bit more into this than I have. What are your overall takeaways on Giannis Antetokounmpo's meeting with John Horst?
Giannis Antetekounmpo did not request a trade in his meeting with Milwaukee. Both sides voiced an eagerness to build a championship-level team. With the team that took a chance on him 12 years ago, Milwaukee is expected to be extremely active in the trade market and free agency as they explore all avenues to build a championship level roster. This team is still in win now mode. We still have Giannis. He doesn't want to go anywhere. Thanasis came out this week and said, "I'm back." Attitude matters. No, there was no Thanasis this year. We talk about the attitude mattering. Thanasis absolutely brings that. Look, we're still winning with Giannis. We're still rolling with the guy. 34. He's going to be a buck for as long as possible. The legendary Twitter run that he just had was fantastic. If you get a chance to go check out Giannis's Twitter lately, really good stuff. But no, Giannis is locked in. Hasn't requested a trade. Anything other than that was fabricated malarkey. So until it comes from Giannis, he's a buck. And it's just good to hear that the meeting happened and wow, it turns out Giannis doesn't want to go anywhere and the Bucks don't want Giannis going anywhere. This isn't breaking news to the Cheese listeners. But I did pull up a nice Giannis stat while we have him on the mention. Consecutive seasons averaging 27, 11, and 5. Giannis has 7 of them. No player has ever done it twice. Nobody's done it 6 times. Nobody's done it 5, 4, 3, or 2. 27, 11, and 5, 7 years in a row. He just came in 3rd place for MVP voting. I think he's the best two-way player on the planet. Stoked to have him back in Milwaukee for another year.
Yeah, no kidding. No news is good news out of that meeting. And I see, when I look up Milwaukee Bucks on Google, I see Doc Rivers quotes saying that he doesn't want to comment on the Giannis trade stuff. And I don't know if that's because I don't know why he wouldn't just say that there is nothing. I think this is more of he's worried about his job security, which I would love for him to be worried about, and he needs to be worried about. And actually, he shouldn't be worried about it at this point because he already shouldn't have this job, but he still does. So we'll continue to see what happens there. But I think that's where everything lays. If Doc Rivers is coaching the Bucks next year, it's going to be difficult to watch. I think I can say that. I think you can comfortably say that as well.
You got Giannis, you got a shot. I mean, yeah, it's Doc sucks. He's terrible. He's got to go. I'm going to be a Bucks fan no matter what. We're going to roll out AJ Green. I'm excited to see what we do. Kind of like I touched on, I think this team might really, really shake up this roster. If you get rid of Kuz and Bobby, there is a pot of cash that they can spend if they do some sign-in trades. There's a world, I texted you this after the show last time, Kevin Porter Jr. might be our starting point guard for $2 million next year. I'm excited for Giannis to have a point guard that he can run in transition with. He's really never had that. Doc's got to go, but it's going to be another season for Bucks basketball. And Giannis is going to have an opportunity to put up some silly numbers next year. He's going to be the guy every single night. Unless they really go get another 1A type of piece, Giannis might be putting up 45 a game next year.
I don't know about 1A, but I think 2. I think a good 2 at least would help this team. I think you need a roster shakeup at this point. You saw what they look like out there on the floor, and maybe that's Doc Rivers. Maybe it's lack of talent on the roster, but I think there needs a little bit of an extra jolt for me to truly believe. But yes, you're right every time that you say it. If you have Giannis, you have a chance. And what it hears on the meeting, with no news being good news, Giannis is going to continue to be a buck. I think you can book it, stamp it, maybe even make a big bet if there's one out there on a Vegas line. Possibly. Go make some cash. Go throw some money out there. So good news there on the Giannis front. Well, now I'll switch it over. Some news out of the NFL this week. The Eagles are going to keep on doing what they're doing as the tush-push ban vote did not pass. They're going to be able to continue to push them tushes on 4th and 1, 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2, any of those situations. There was also a report I thought was interesting. It sounded like league officials pushed Green Bay to send out this proposal. I don't
Yeah.
know how much I read into that, but I really I don't think is Green Bay soft for being that team that went out there to push it, or do you think it was Mark Murphy on his way out like, hey, you guys need anything before I go? They're like, actually, yes, we would love for you to do this.
I think that might be exactly it. I think, like I said a long time ago, I think he was just being the adult in the room. Like, hey, can someone please address this thing going on here?
Yeah.
And there was some late tweaks to it to make everybody a little bit happier. 22 votes out of the 32. It just wasn't enough. 10 teams
Close.
voted to keep the tush push, and that's just enough to keep the tush push around. This isn't a Packers against the NFL situation, and the reporting that it keeps coming back. Oh, the Packers rule changed. The Packers wanted the tush. No, 22 teams out of the 32. That's most of them. That's a good chunk of most of the teams voted to ban the tush push, but it just wasn't enough. So I guess if you can't beat them, join them, and Tucker Kraft will be running some sneaks this year.
Oh yeah, the cheese squeeze. Keep it moving, boys.
Cheese
I love
squeeze.
it. Hey, little bit of cheese. You just got to squeeze it sometimes. 4th and 1, baby. Let's do it. I did see the post from Philadelphia saying, I think it was push on or something along those lines. And they used a picture of Jalen Hurts lining up to tush push against the Packers, which I found really ironic. And I can't remember who posted it on Twitter or reposted it and said Green Bay actually stopped them from getting a first down on this play. So I thought that was kind of interesting. I mean, Green Bay's actually stopped the tush push at a pretty high clip. And I don't think it was like Matt LaFleur or the team being soft or anything. Like, as you said, 22 out of the 32 teams voted that they would prefer to not have it be a football play. I will tell you, I would be surprised if the tush push is allowed at this rate and at this level, which right now is pretty much anarchy. I don't think it's going to be this way, even in 5 years. I think there will be a change, and I think it might be next year. They just need to make a couple more tweaks and just make it a little bit more for everybody. Like, hey, you can do this, but you can only do this once a quarter. Like, maybe they just put a rule on it like that where you don't do it like every set of 4 downs. So I think there's going to be changes, just not going to be this year. We can actually transition into our cheese grater. This is everybody's favorite segment of the week. Sam and I each ask each other 3 questions. I'll kick it off here at the top. I saw a Vikings fan saying this week that Green Bay has so much going on in that locker room. I think they're going to finish last in the NFC North this next year. Sam, can you give me your unbiased NFC North predictions for next year?
I think the Lions are really, really good. Bukowski had a little podcast talking about this the other day. The top 25 players, 25 and younger, came out. You can't put too much weight on some of those little stats and rankings and stuff. Lions had 5 guys in there under 25 as the top 25 best players. They got some absolute dogs. They got Penei Sewell, man. Amon-Ra is different. Jahmyr Gibbs is an absolute machine. Sam Laporte. They got really, really good dudes in Detroit, and they've built this team the right way. Took their time. Detroit always has a little bit of a pity. Go, you guys. I think from Packer fans. So I think Detroit is still going to be winning the NFC North. I just think they're too good. I got the Packers coming in second. I got the Bears coming in third. And I think the Vikings are going to roll out J.J. McCarthy, have some growing pains there. And the Vikings are going to be the bottom feeders in the NFC North. And oh, that was beautiful to say.
I love it.
When are we going to see Jacob Mizorowski playing in Milwaukee?
Ooh, if he keeps doing what he's doing, I don't know if he makes it through June, but I would say at the absolute latest, first game after the All-Star break, he's on the 25-man roster or 26-man roster, whatever the heck it is. He has pitched too good. He has fixed everything that they've wanted him to fix.
Mm-hmm.
I'm honestly surprised that he wasn't brought up in this situation along, like maybe instead of a Carlos Rodriguez. And Carlos Rodriguez got the win yesterday for the Brewers. He pitched well. He was that guy, but Mizorowski, he gives you another sliver of hope to think that this team has a next level because he has ace type of stuff. He can be the guy that you throw out there. You trust 6 innings. They can only get 1 run. and then let's get the ball to our bullpen, let's win, and let's get out of here. He could be your number two when it comes to the playoffs. The way that he has pitched in AAA this year, nobody can touch him. So it's going to have to be at the latest right after the All-Star break. He's right on the doorstep.
The production has been matching the hype. We were talking about him this time last year, saying, "Oh, there's this lefty out there. Let's see what he does." And
Well,
he's showing up. He was walking some guys. He's throwing 103 in the seventh inning.
yeah,
I'm really excited. The production matching the hype with him reminds me of the Churio arc.
a little bit. Yes, Churio a little bit younger, a little bit more exciting because, like you heard, hey, this guy might be one of the best that we've ever seen. And with Mizorowski, it's all the stuff. And they were worried about him having just two pitches. Well, this year he's got a changeup, and it looks really good. And his ERA is at about 1.5. He's been as good as advertised. I think he's ready. What does Yelich have to do personally to make this team a winner? You saw him hit 2 home runs yesterday. What are the expectations for the rest of the year?
What he has to do is go on a little run, have a week, just have a week and hit 600 for a week, hit
Yeah.
4 bombs in a week, get some mojo back, remind himself that he's Christian Yelich. We talked about a little the mental side. I think it's absolutely huge for him. It's huge for baseball players. It's huge for athletes. It's huge for everybody in daily life. So I think he needs to have a week where he really tears it up, reminds himself who he is, gets a little bit of fire, puts a little hair on his chest, and reminds himself and everybody in this country that he is Christian freaking Yelich.
Maybe a series in Pittsburgh will do that for me. Started off hot.
Hit a couple bombs against Paul Skeens tonight. That'd
Ooh,
be awesome.
yeah.
So back coming after the Mizorowski question, who's the next pitcher we're sending down to AAA?
This is a really interesting question. I think it's easy. I think it's Carlos Rodriguez. As much as we appreciate what he did yesterday, that was his only job. And I imagine he's going to be sent down either today or tomorrow to bring somebody else back up. Like they needed him for yesterday because the
Sure.
bullpen was really short. They knew Savali wasn't going to go deep into the game. They knew they were going to have to piggyback with Carlos Rodriguez. He's going to be that guy. And after that, I have no idea. Tobias Myers has been the odd man out. I think he continues to be the odd man out. And after that, I have no idea. There's been one bullpen arm that's also been changing up, as Easton McGee is the guy that was brought up and then sent right back down after he pitched one performance and whatever. So that's going to continue to be a revolving door until DL Hall, Aaron Ashby come back. And at that point, who knows who else is hurt on the team. So it's going to be Carlos Rodriguez on the roster right now. When you look at the overall rotation, maybe Henderson, but that sucks to say. I really don't know. I don't know who that next guy is out. I imagine that there's going to be an injury and that they need Jacob Mizorowski when they call him up because we haven't seen him yet, and they've had enough opportunity the last couple of weeks, I think, to give him that chance. So I think just a couple more weeks, maybe one more guy gets hurt, then you have to call him up and you're forced to. So I watched the Brett Favre documentary yesterday. It's on Netflix. It's part of the Untold series. It's really it's I'll call it a hit piece on him. It's all about the negative parts and all the bad things that he's done in his life, which was really interesting in contrast because 2 nights ago I watched The Football Life that was very positive and talked about all the great things that he did, bringing the title back to Titletown, 3 straight MVPs. He almost died in a car accident and then came back and played for Southern Mississippi just 2 weeks after. Like stuff like that. Lost 30 inches of his small intestines. Overcame Vicodin addiction. And then that Netflix documentary was he was a womanizer. He sent a picture of his cheese head to a Jets correspondent, and he stole a bunch of money from welfare people and put it into a volleyball facility. And just talking about he let the fame get to his head, and he was a terrible, terrible human being, and we shouldn't see him in a positive light at all. You and I still both live in the great state of Wisconsin. We're very diehard cheeseheads. How should Favre be viewed in the state of Wisconsin, especially amongst sports fans?
I think as a football player, there's some things that you can't take away what he did on the field, the hope he gave people, the excitement that he brought people. There's memories that you aren't gonna take away. That being said, someone's personal decisions make it that tough to root for them. Maybe you don't need the jersey hanging on the wall anymore, but you bring 3 MVPs in a row to Lambeau. Nobody's wearing number 4 ever again. He was a little bit, that was going on in the 90s. I wasn't alive when those MVPs were going on, but the diehard Favre fans seem to stand on that hill. And we've seen character issues in football players before. We're not dealing with a double homicide, not to stand by anything, but
right.
We're not dealing with double homicide. This isn't Aaron Hernandez. It's not a Ray Rice situation. Right. So what Favre did in Lambeau, I think will live forever on the football field.
I agree. You got one last question, real quick?
I don't have a question for you. I got a little bit of what's Gouda. Shout out Wisconsin Badgers basketball getting Tom Riddle on the roster. I think that's absolutely fantastic.
The dark lord, he who shall not be named. We'll leave the episode at that. We'll see you guys next week on Monday for another edition of A Little Bit of Cheese, your bite-sized Wisconsin sports podcast.